FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority. The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when I signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up to fight for my freedoms and rights. That's a price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like a fight that you're itching for.
Welcome to Armed Alabama. Glad you could join us tonight. Of course, this is your favorite night of the week, Tuesday night, because we come to you at 7 p.m. from 8 p.m. And, of course, this is your show on self-defense, firearm and ammo selection, home protection, concealed carry, proper range training, proper range etiquette, and Alabama, Mississippi, Florida law, and U.S. law. Of course, I'm Adam Strange, NRA law enforcement instructor, and, of course, with me is Judge Rusty Johnson, and we call him the hanging judge.
I only wish.
So glad you could join us tonight. We've got a good show for you, and joining us tonight, Judge, did you want to introduce our guest?
Go ahead. If you got his bio there and info. So
joining us tonight on the air is Rob Pincus, and with the NRA, and
with the Save the Second organization,
exactly,
which is a grassroots reform organization that is committed to reforming the NRA, and most of the people that listen to us have heard about, Wayne LaPierre's suits, the 75-member board, and all that. And Rob and Anthony Garcia will be on with us after Rob. He's going to come on and tell us what we can do to help and what some of the problems are. And so if we can judge him through.
Judge, if I hadn't told you, Rob Pincus is actually the individual that got me involved in firearms training. So,
we got somebody to blame here. Rob, you on the line yet?
I am, yes, sir.
Hey, great to have you. I don't know if you heard what Adam just said, that you got him involved in firearms, so his wives will blame you for that.
Well, I'm guilty as charged, I guess, on that one. I'm honored. I'm always humbled to hear about the people that have been influenced by the work, whether it's the books or the DVDs or even a lot of the work that I did through the National Rifle Association for a long time, and maybe now some of the work we're doing to help that organization fix itself.
Yeah, exactly. Rob, I've told everybody your organization is it's www.save2a.org, and I've posted that a number of places so people can get in touch and hopefully donate and give help. But why don't we all, me and you, Adam, we all know the problems with the NRA, but some of our listeners may not. Could you kind of give us a summary of what's been going on the past year or so?
Yeah, it's a much longer story than that, really. I mean, the story goes back into the mid-1990s.
In fact, I've got the two books. The Ricochet is one of them, and I can't think of the other one when, this was way back. But, yeah, you're right. It's been endemic.
Yeah, Gun Rights Wars is the reference that I make for a lot of people, that they can read the story going all the way back into the 90s. And really what the problem is that there was a lack of oversight at various different times in the NRA's history. And the primary issue of oversight that we're dealing with right now is Wayne LaPierre and the relationships that he has set up with, what one would call his cronies, right? This regime that has been set up to benefit from the power and authority and influence and obviously the money that's been flowing through the NRA for the last couple of decades. And the board tried to do something about it. A small group on the board tried to do something about it in the mid-'90s. The effort failed, and Wayne LaPierre, with the help of Marion Hammer, with the help of Tony Macris and Ackerman McQueen, the PR firm, with the help of the help of Charlton Heston at the time, solidified a stranglehold of control over the National Rifle Association, and that relationship has been called out by many, many, many people, the relationship between the NRA and Ackerman McQueen for many years, and unfortunately, nothing was done. The predictions have come true. There's been an ugly breakup between the NRA and the Ackerman McQueen PR firm, and in the wake of that, we are finding out about the financial malfeasance, about the cronyism, about the general dysfunction that's been occurring at the National Rifle Association for far too long. And luckily, it has been brought to light, and over the last few months, many American gun owners and many leaders in the firearms community, many, obviously, board of directors members have left and resigned the board because everyone's saying enough is enough, Mr. LaPierre. Time to move on, time to give the members back the organization and let the NRA do the good work on behalf of the Second Amendment and American gun owners that it was set up to do.
I noticed, 2 or 3 board of directors left either today or yesterday. So
we had 2 leave. Yeah, 2 made the announcements went public today that 2 have left this week. Richard Childress and Craig Morgan. We also had one of the leaders in the NRA IOA resign today. At least it was made public that he resigned today. And we've lost 4 other board members since the annual meeting. So that makes 6 board members that have resigned. And certainly we know that there are many others who are on the fence for 2 reasons, I think. There are some board members who are resigning because they don't want any more responsibility. They don't want to be anywhere close to the New York investigation or anywhere closer to the New York investigation or the Washington, D.C. investigation or the public, the court of public opinion, if you will, that's being unleashed against the NRA and against the fact that the board isn't fixing things and really hasn't been doing their job. And then you also have people who are leaving the board because they're frustrated with the fact that they can't do anything while they're on the board. And they've been some of our strongest fighters for reform inside of the NRA. Unfortunately, they just can't get anything done. Yeah. And so they've moved outside, and I know that many of them are planning on continuing their work, obviously to defend the Second Amendment, but specifically to defend the Second Amendment and help make the NRA better.
One thing that you all are pushing that I've talked about for years is, what is the NRA board now, 78 slots or 75, whatever it is. And I've always said, when you have a board that big, it is then the management that runs the organization, not the board.
Right. There are some obvious problems with the size of the board and the structure of the board. What we've got right now is a situation where we have 5 reforms that were really built around it, Save the Second. And Anthony will talk to you in a while. He's one of our founders, right. Anthony Garcia and Ron Carter. When he comes on the show in the second half, he'll be able to speak to, sort of how the organization was formed, why the organization was formed, and why these 5 points of reform really do represent what we think are the concerns of the American gun owner. But I'll speak specifically to the 3 that are directly related to the board right now. And the first one is the one that is probably the most important, and that is mandatory attendance. And so we've proposed a bylaw change that will require board members to participate. And if you think about it right now, the fact that board members are not required to participate really protects the status quo.
It
protects
sure does,
Wayne LaPierre and his small group of people that have this stranglehold, as I keep saying, on control at the NRA. Because if the members of the board aren't required to participate, well, we know there are plenty of people that have gotten onto the board that don't want to participate in the NRA. They don't want to be anywhere near some of the dysfunction. They simply want to do the good that they can. Maybe there's a few on there that just want to pad their resumes. Maybe there's a few on there that just consider it a life goal and an accomplishment that they've been able to get onto the board of the NRA. But finding people that really want to do work, especially hard work, the kind of work that requires you to maybe be in an argument with an industry friend that you've had for 10 or 20 years, the kind of work that requires you to maybe call out the fact that an organization that we all revere in concept, the National Rifle Association, hasn't been doing the good work it was supposed to have been doing. So we've got a lot of problems inside of this board that are empowered by the lack of participation. So by requiring attendance, we know that not only will the board members be forced to be accountable to the average member and to the American gun owner, but I think we'll get a different kind of board member in the future as well. I think we'll get board members who aren't just looking for that accomplishment; they're really looking to do the work.
Yeah, I think
that one was actually one that we proposed to get onto the agenda for the September board meeting by petition, and everyone at Save the Second was humbled by the response. We are currently approaching 3 times the minimum number of voting member petition forms that we need. And when we turned them in at the official deadline, we had over twice as many as we needed.
Rob,
so we
need to take a quick break. Hold on, and we'll be right back, all right? Hang on.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. You forgot to say please.
Yeah, please. This is Judge Rusty Johnston with Adam Strange in Armed Alabama, and we've got on the line Rob Pincus with SaveTheSecond.org, and we were talking about reforms in the board, and we got through requiring board attendance, which, makes a lot of sense to me. Rob, your second one you were thinking of, or you've actually got on your website?
Yeah, the next one I think that's the most important in terms of the board itself is the term limit. I think term limits will work in conjunction with mandatory attendance to encourage board members to do the good work that they're supposed to be doing efficiently. They can't imagine. Right now I'm being told by board members, well, they don't know if they can do anything until they're, quote unquote, more established. And part of that idea, that some of these younger board members or newer board members, I say, have is because there are people who've been on the board for literally decades.
Yeah,
there really is a feeling that if you haven't been around for a decade, you got some learning to do before you can start helping, and that's one of the things that's really been hurting.
We got so many people in the gun rights movement that we have enough people to take over these board spots. So, that just ought to be easy.
There are, and there's plenty of other ways that people can serve. If someone an amazing, asset to the NRA, there are plenty of other things that they can do outside of serving on the board after, 4 terms. I mean, that's 12 years, and there are plenty of things that they can do in terms of serving on committees. They could obviously take a position full time with the NRA or the ILA or with the foundation itself. So there's plenty of things that people can do if they've served 4 consecutive terms and they feel like they still want to do something to help the NRA, and the NRA and the members still see value in them. But we think that refreshing the blood on the board itself is incredibly important.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Jefferson said. The tree of liberty needs to be watered with the blood of tyrants and patriots every 20 years. You just need a turnover. No question about that.
Well, yeah, I think in concept for sure. There is a time when someone needs to step aside, and clearly we've reached that time with Wayne LaPierre. And, there's a lot of people out there trying to defend him and the things he's done. I certainly held him in high esteem in the late 90s, early 2000s when I first came into the industry. And there's no doubt that he has been involved in a lot of positive things for the Second Amendment and for gun rights in America.
Now, rightly or wrongly, too much baggage.
He has passed his point of value to us.
And you see it now when we need the NRA in the fight over the various terrible proposals that have come up, and they're pretty much silent. And when he posts something, I read something on YouTube, I see responses like, nice suit, Wayne, and all this. He's totally ineffective now.
It's true. It is a complete distraction. I mean, anything that gets said by the NRA now is followed by while the NRA faces internal crisis, or followed, if Wayne LaPierre said it, it's while he's under attack by his own, side, so to speak, as people start asking questions about these expenses. And it is unfortunate that he has not seen the wisdom, and that the organization has not seen the wisdom in simply saying 30 years is enough. It's time to move on, and let's change regimes. And honestly, a lot of people are speculating as to some worst-case scenarios about why that might be, and a lot of it's centered on what's coming out in the New York State Attorney General's office. And obviously, The NRA has been very concerned about the fact that Oliver North, the most recent past president of the organization, sat down and talked to the Attorney General's office in New York this week.
Yeah. Why they didn't, of course, hindsight's 2020, why 30 years ago they didn't change the state of incorporation to Delaware or someplace? I can't imagine. New York.
Well, in some ways, it's at least right now they can point fingers at New York and say, well, it's a quote unquote liberal state, or it's a an anti-gun governor, and they have that argument to make. Imagine if this were going on in Tennessee. Imagine if this were going on in Arizona or Texas or Florida, because quite frankly, this investigation is well grounded. There may very well be an anti-gun or a pro-gun control agenda against the NRA, and we get that. And the investigative journalism that's being done, we get that there is. There are a lot of people on the anti-gun side cheering this on.
True.
But the problems that were created at the NRA were created by the NRA.
Yeah, no question about that. Adam?
Yeah, I think you made a good point there, Rob, is you allow these individuals to kind of get their fingernails into the facade there, or the broad side of the NRA, and it just peeling back the layers, and it gives them ammunition.
It really does, and I understand the loyalties, and I understand the fear, and I understand the emotion that goes into, well, I'm not going to listen to anything, the Trace says or something like that. But at the end of the day, when you now have Fox News, as recently as just a few days ago, talking about the problems and the fact that it's time for Wayne LaPierre to go, when you have Tom Gresham coming out and saying,
"Oh boy, he had a great
Mark
couple
Walters,
of shows,"
Michael Bain, you guys, when you have people who are well established in the community explaining to everyone, "Hey, this is real. This is not anti-gun propaganda." It only lasts so far, or lasts so long, and it can only go so far. The circling of the wagons, and the longer it takes to get this thing fixed, the closer we are to those 2020 elections.
Yeah. And NRA has turned out like a lot of good organizations. They get big, old, fat, and bloated, and sometimes somebody needs to come in and kind of clean them up. And that's a lot of charities, a lot of organizations.
Well, Wounded Warrior Project is probably the best example in recent memory where, a lot of people, and I was one of them, I defended that organization. I defended it very hard because I knew some of the people that had been helped. I knew the families that had been helped. I knew the volunteers that were out there working at the events. I had worked with them, and I really did not want to see that organization torn apart and abandoned because of some problems at the top. And I was a bit of an apologist for them.
Yeah.
And I learned a hard lesson because when it all shook out, there were some real problems at the top, and there was some real dysfunction there and some real issues that needed to be solved. And that whole organization just had to be rebooted, and they're rebuilding their reputation, and they're still doing good work, but not nearly on the scale that they were, let's say, 5 years ago. And here's the important lesson. America didn't stop helping wounded veterans. Americans didn't stop helping people with disabilities from the aftermath of war or their families. What we did was we just shifted and redirected our efforts in other ways because Wounded Warrior Project couldn't be trusted. And what Save the Second is trying to do is prevent that from happening any more than it already has with the NRA. We're trying to get the NRA back on its feet. We're trying to represent the concerns of the average American gun owner, especially the NRA members and the former NRA members or the potential future NRA members that want to not have to go find an alternative way to fight for the Second Amendment. We don't want to have another organization or a set of organizations become the face of gun rights, on this planet. We want the NRA to get fixed. Unfortunately, the NRA is working against us right now at the leadership level.
Rob, as you know, when was it, about 2 years ago, they changed all the training programs, lots of them, to have this blended program. I mean, that was awful, and that didn't help anything. That's typical.
The blended program was a disaster. I mean, I as an educator, and I've done a lot of distance educating. I have programs that are quote unquote blended learning under my umbrella and my influence. And as a concept, it's not a bad concept. Unfortunately, like many of the things the NRA has done recently, it was done in a very ham-fisted way. With
Bottom
the focus
down,
on revenue, not the focus on quality, not the focus on program development, certainly no focus whatsoever, not even a consideration for the massive team of instructors out there that they pretty much betrayed with that program. And then the insult to injury was the failed stillbirth carry guard program.
Oh yeah, that's terrible.
Marketed as a training program, but really just there to sell insurance.
Yep.
And it was a horrible insurance program, and that didn't go anywhere. So the training division has been a problem for the NRA for a long, long, long time. And the blended learning and the carry guard disasters really are the ramifications of the cracks in the dam, if you will, because that was the place where they saw an easy money grab. They tried to make it, and it backfired. And now there's obviously a lot of instructors, myself included, who've been certified by the NRA in the past, who've been, definitely felt betrayed by this. But we know that there are a lot of NRA instructors that have been lobbying and pushing hard to try to get things changed. In fact, Andy Lander worked in the training division, and he's still very active as a training counselor, and he sits on our board at Save the Second. And he's been working with a lot of those instructors to help get them motivated and sort of focus their energy and their angst, not outward, but inward, and get the NRA fit.
Well, Rob, what can people that are listening to this show do to help you all out?
Well, the main thing that we want people to do is talk to the directors that are left, and certainly talk to donors. I think it's really important that people understand that the NRA does benefit greatly from the money that comes in from any direction. There is no area of money that goes into the NRA that doesn't end up solidifying the status quo right now. And the Friends of the NRA banquets, for example, there used to be a minimum that had to stay local from those. That bottom floor has been taken away. And in fact, as I understand it, the person who used to run the Friends of the NRA banquet is no longer in charge of that those sets of events because of some of the changes that have been made to allow the NRA headquarters to get a larger share of that money. And that's been going around in every division, in every area of the NRA, and everything under the NRA umbrella. So it's really important that people understand that defunding the current regime is important to getting them to, A, lose the profit motive, and B, to force the action to get the change that we need to make the organization better. So the big donors, Midway USA, I think Smith & Wesson, Beretta USA are still amongst the top donors that are corporate donors, and they should be hearing from customers and American gun owners, as well as the NRA.
I order a fair amount from Midway, so I need
our mailing list as well.
Let them know. Now, they can find about everything you're talking about on the website, www.savethe2a.org, and they can certainly donate. I donated, I don't know, $50 or $100 or something like that. $10 helps, folks. Anything, it takes money to do things. And
I appreciate it. We do have a donation up there, a donation tab up there for people that are interested in doing that. I'll tell you that as a grassroots organization,
Rob, let's take this last break. Rob, let's take this break, and then we'll finish up on that. All right?
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you are looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
Good luck. It's Lamb Nielsen from Taken. Now, Rob, we were talking about what people could do to help. One is to go to your website, and should they then sign up for your email list?
Yeah, absolutely. Signing up for the email list is the best way to find out if we're going to do any future petitions or other events or other news items that we think are really important. We also share some of the messaging that's coming out of the NRA leadership, as well as some of the things that we're hearing from the directors that we're talking to, and in obviously the public statements made by directors as well. So there's some good inside information. It's a lot to keep up with, and we try to put that into the newsletters and also our blog at SaveThe2A.org, so that people can find kind of one stop. What's the most important news about the NRA in terms of either new revelations, the bad stuff, or any progress we're making or thoughts that leaders in the community have towards reform and towards getting the NRA back on its feet.
Well, listen, I can't wish you enough luck. We've got Anthony on the other line. Thank you so much, Rob, and we'll be in touch.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the time.
Take care. All right. Anthony Garcia, are you with us?
Doing this evening?
Hey, pretty good, Anthony. How about you?
Good.
We just had Rob on the line, and I'm exhausted. He has so much energy.
Yeah, he can talk.
Yeah. But One thing we did talk to him about was two of the reforms that you all are proposing, and I totally agree with: mandatory attendance of the board members and term limits. Do you want to kind of pick up where you left off some of the other things that you all are proposing?
Well, first off, I do want to say the mandatory attendance thing, that is something I've been pushing from the very beginning. That, I think, is going to make one of the biggest differences in the board. Right now, I'm sure Rob must have mentioned that, but that's just going to be one of the biggest things that I think we could really do to change that board. And right now, with that petition that's there, we're pushing everybody to mail them and tell them, what's going on. We're doing this. It's kind of old-fashioned, but we got a letter campaign going on. I mean, it's... Yeah,
I'll post the mailing list on our website, and, it's just so hard to get... People have forgotten how to write a letter anymore.
Right? Yeah, it seems old-fashioned, but when you have 1,000 letters show up on your doorstep, you kind of have to pay attention.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking when that happens.
But yeah, the other things we're focusing on besides those, membership engagement is a big one. Right now, their messaging to members it's very poor. See, in order for us to even get people engaged, contacting the NRA, we literally had to, as you can tell, form an organization and start getting ourselves on radio shows and podcasts and advertising just to try to even get anybody involved. Like it's surprising the amount of work that it's taken to get people involved. It's crazy.
My idea of
member engagement's a big one.
A board member ought to go around in his state to civic clubs, organizations, and give everybody's looking for guests like that, and give a speech every year. But they're kind of elusive, the ones I've known.
Yeah, and what was really cool? Some of the board members, when they were campaigning to get signatures to get on the ballot, Tim Knight's one of them. He went around to a whole bunch of gun shows in different states and did exactly that. He would go around to gun shows, meet people, shake their hands, and talk to them face to face. It was cool, and I'd love to see more of that from the board members.
5 years ago, probably right after I retired, I had some contacts with NRA and wrote him, and I said, I've got a great, Second Amendment gun rights PowerPoint and speech. I actually gave it to the University of Alabama Federalist Society, and I said, I would be glad. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but if you want me, I'd be glad to go around within 100 miles. I don't need any reimbursement. I couldn't get anybody to respond, and I thought, that's the problem when you get so big and have so much money that it's hard to keep up with somebody that just calls in or writes in like that.
Yeah, and speaking about getting big, their board is huge. It's 76 people. Why is it that big?
My contention is so that
they have a lot of committees that they need to fill, but they don't have to be board members to fill those committees.
Right.
There's a lot of members on those committees who aren't board members. And there's just no real good reason to have 76 people on your board.
Other than it lets the staff run the organization.
Yeah.
That's the big drawback that I see.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. We know we should be focused on quality over that quantity.
Did you all have a proposal too? One thing I was shocked is the conflict of interest. I assumed, obviously, they were getting their expenses paid, like I have in organizations. I didn't realize how many board members actually had some financial dealings with the organization.
We had not specifically addressed that. However, it's completely true. There are a lot of conflicts of interest going on.
Yeah.
It is absolutely true. It's things we have talked about. We don't have a proposal specifically for it, but absolutely. There is a lot of that going on.
And that's just something the new board could do on their own. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, when I've been on boards, I have run away from anything that might be even close to a conflict.
Right. Now, you would expect a board member who's above board, as it were, to say, hey, I have a conflict of interest here. I can't serve on this committee. Like, you would expect somebody to say that.
Right.
But it's the exact opposite here. They're like, hey, man, you can make a couple bucks on the side. You want to serve in this committee? That's kind of how it seems to be going.
I used to say when my ship came in, I got a lot of money, I would only wear Hart, Shaft, and Mark suits. I think I'll change that to whatever I go to LaPierre's clothier.
Right.
Yeah, you just watch him on TV or
yeah.
podcasts or whatever, and get some styling tips.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the new suit of the week?
Well, the point too is he's in it. Fiction becomes reality, whatever the saying is. But whatever the problem is, he is a liability now, and he's been there long enough, and you always got another time to exit. And he just apparently, he wants to hold on, for all it's worth. I don't know why, pride, whatever it is.
There's a few reasons we've been throwing around, a few things that we've heard here and there. Nothing concrete yet. As far as why he's hanging in there, I mean, maybe it's pride. At this point, who knows? He is a massive liability.
Oh yeah, no question about it.
Especially as we go into the 2020 election.
Yeah, absolutely. With him in there, the NRA's power and effectiveness, I think, is massively reduced heading into this election. They'd be handicapped either way because of what's happened. But it's
these past 3 weeks when we've really needed somebody out there to dispute, the background checks and red flag laws. The only person I've seen is John Lott, and he does a great job. But you don't hear anything from the NRA.
No, and I was reading they had the Second Amendment Foundation down there at the White House talking with President Trump. And it's an example. It's an example of another good pro-gun organization stepping up, trying to take some reins. And hey, I'm glad about that. That's fantastic. But it's also showing the NRA losing their effectiveness.
Yeah, absolutely. And the NRA's always done things like, in the Second Amendment, won the Heller case. They run a article, pictures, and all in the magazine, like they did. And they did everything they could to sabotage it. We all ought to be working together.
Right. Absolutely.
Adam. Rob told us some of the things that could be done. Sign up your mailing list. I encourage, $10, $20. I know that it isn't expensive now, but there's no reason to come out of y'all's pocket. And also, writing the members. Anything else you can think of that just the average NRA member or former member can do? So
one of the biggest things to do is just get your voice heard. So I know this kind of sounds like we're hitting a dead horse here, but this is 100% true. It's writing, and not just those emails, but like I was saying, the old school
physical letter, right?
Yeah, pull out that paper, pull out that envelope, and get it done. We've been posting now. We've had it on our Facebook. We've had it on our website, our email campaigns. We have addresses where you can mail the NRA. This is important.
Yeah.
Especially coming up to the board meeting here on the 11th through the 13th in Alaska.
Yeah, Alaska. I love that. But yeah, that'd be the time to get the letters out the next week or two.
Yes, absolutely. That's a big one. Just spreading the message is huge. Getting up on Facebook. Everybody who's got a Facebook, just share our stuff. It's huge.
Yeah.
It helps. It helps a lot. It's just spreading that message, really. Yes, money helps. Coming up to NRAM next year, the annual meeting, that's when we're going to need money. So, right now, yes, it helps, but then that's what we're really going to need it for, is that annual meeting.
Where's the annual meeting next year?
When is it?
Where is it?
Oh, where is it? It's Tennessee.
Okay, we're allowed to go there. It's south of Mason-Dixon, so we can go there. That's good.
We will all be there for sure.
Yeah, that's good. We'll plan on doing that.
Absolutely.
But listen, I have nothing but praise for what you all are doing because for a while there I thought, is anybody interested? It's just I had witnessed the NRA training program, I think, kind of fall apart 2 years ago, and then all of this stuff, and I thought, and I'd had insiders tell me about Ackerman McQueen, and I thought, one of these days it's going to be a real embarrassment, and we're still at that mythical 5 million member mark, which I don't think we're really at, but we ought to have 10,
Right, yeah, there's been some talk about that member number. I don't know what to think.
Yeah.
If it is 5 million, I'm happy.
It's like the 11 million illegal aliens in the country.
Right.
They've been here for 50 years, the same number.
Right. It was that number 50 years
Yeah, maybe
ago,
half
right?
of them NRA members. I don't know. But yeah, we've got to get it more responsive. And just to make everybody clear what we're doing, we don't hate the NRA. I'm a life member. I'm a trainer.
Am too. Yeah.
Adam is too. You are too. We love them. That's why we want to reform it.
Yeah, that's a question and a comment we've gotten a lot. It's like, hey, are you guys trying to tear the NRA apart? What are you trying to do? And it's the exact opposite. I'm also a life member. I'm a lifetime endowment member. I have been for years. I got my first NRA membership when I turned 18.
Oh, wow.
I bought my first rifle when I turned 18. It was one of those old Russian military rifles.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I think I was probably everybody's first
did the same thing. I did the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought my first NRA membership, and I've had one on and off since then, and I finally got a life membership. I love that organization. That's why I'm doing this. That's why we're all doing this.
It'd be easy to walk away,
We want it to be effective.
Anthony, hold on a minute. We got a quick break, and we'll be right back with you and wrap it up.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. All right. Remember, folks, this is FM Talk 106.5 in Mobile, Alabama, the Armed Alabama Show. You can watch the repeat of this on Facebook and also on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, too. We need you.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
3 lipsticks, 3 pair of nylon stockings.
Garcia with SaveTheSecond.org. Anthony, I'm going to put this on Facebook page, website, etc. But could you give us an address if people want to write the individual or write board members and complain? Charlie's. Anthony, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Have you got an address that people can write the board members and give them their opinion about the organization and what's happening?
Yes. So the address to write the board members all at once, you're actually going to write their secretary. The address is to the National Rifle Association, John Frazier, Office of the Secretary.
How does he spell Frazier?
Frazer.
Okay.
And then under that, you would put attention, NRA Board of Directors. So that's actually 3 lines.
Yep.
And then the actual street address, 11250, Waples, Waples, Mill Road. That's Fairfax, Virginia, 22030.
Good. We'll get that up in all the places, and I might drop everybody some kind of sample letters, because you don't want to be rude. You don't want it to be, high-pitched, but you want it to be to the point, too.
Absolutely. That'd be really, really good.
Yeah, no question about that. So the meeting's in September. If everything goes right, the board meeting, what do you expect to happen in September, Anthony, in Alaska?
September's going to be kind of a toss-up, I think. It could go either way. There's some thought that they may just immediately go into an executive session, and our guys will get kicked out.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll happen or not, because we will be in attendance at the board meeting. All members of the NRA have a right to attend that meeting by the bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
So they may go into an executive session. We don't know. They may take some sort of action. They may not. It's kind of a toss-up. There is another meeting after that in December, and then, of course, the annual meeting next year where the members can finally have their say.
Right.
That's going to be exciting.
Right. Well, hopefully the annual meeting will be about business and less about, selling trinkets and everything else that they're into.
Yep.
No question about it. But one thing we want people to do, if you get a solicitation from the NRA, I don't know if they're still doing some of that, not until Wayne leaves. That's what I would put on my solicitation and
or
send
a phone
it back.
call.
Or a phone call.
Yeah, they love
no money until
you.
Wayne goes.
Yeah.
They stopped sending me junk mail when I finally got one out. It had one of those prepaid postages on it, and I wrote, hey, not a dime until you fire Wayne LaPierre. And I sent it back, and they took me off their list. I haven't gotten any since then.
That's a great way to get off the list, That's the one thing before this came up that everyone that called the show complained of.
Right.
Massive solicitations.
Yeah.
So.
It was either mail or phone call. And it always seems like it's the absolute wrong time of day.
Yeah.
That you get a phone call and asking you for money.
Right.
Well, Anthony, is there anything else we can do on the show to help you out? We'll be in contact with you, and if these type shows help you, we know several more around the country. We'll get you lined up with.
Yeah, that's what would help us a lot, is just spreading the message. That's the biggest thing. Spreading the message and letting members know that this is actually working.
Yeah, don't give up on it.
Thousands of followers on Facebook. We've got, I have nearly 2,000 people signed up that are confirmed voting members on our mailing list, and that is enough to start to affect the bottom rungs of the director elections. So we are going to be able to actually affect the makeup of the board.
Great.
It is working. We just need to spread the message and keep going.
Good. Well, we will keep spreading the message here. And listen, we thank you for everything you're doing. Stay with it. And there's reason to be optimistic because people like you are involved.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Anthony. We'll be in touch.
Okay, have a nice evening.
You too. Folks, that was Anthony Garcia with SaveTheSecond.org. And before him, Rob Pincus. I'll put all the addresses are actually on the notice of tonight's show, but they don't have a hot link in them, so you can press them. But I would urge you, too, to go to their regular website, Save the Second. It is www.SaveThe2A.org. And there's a lot of interesting things on there, especially the blog. If you're a little uncertain, hey, the gun show people, it's Armed Alabama, they feed me propaganda. What's really going on? Go to the blog there, and it'll kind of tell you how this thing has unwound in a terrible way, actually. It's just not – this is a nonprofit organization and should not be acting like that. But and also sign up for the mailing list. I signed up for the mailing list. I rarely sign up for mailing lists, but I did. And as I say, if you got a few bucks, send it on in. I think I did it through PayPal or something. It was real easy.
Yeah, because everyone I talk to, judges, they've got a different interpretation of what's going on in the NRA. So it was very
nice. The worst
is,
this is a Michael Bloomberg operation.
Yeah.
When that's just crazy.
So it was good to hear from Rob Pincus and from Anthony Garcia tonight and kind of get some insight as what's going on and in the activities that they're doing to right to
action.
ship.
That's what's great.
Right to ship. So it was really, really, really nice to hear that. So if you want more information about Save the Second or Save the 2A, you can actually go to our Facebook page, and that's Armed Alabama FM Talk 106.5.
Yeah, I do have hot links there. I forgot. Yeah.
And we'll post more information on that. And also the address, email address, and the mailing address to where you can mail the NRA.
If you got a printer, write them a letter. That is very effective.
And you can send the NRA your dissatisfaction.
And while I'm thinking about it, Adam, things have come up about Walmart and all recently. Hey, don't go in Walmart and buy your guns or ammunition. They are a very anti-gun, anti-firearms, anti-Second Amendment organization. There are 100 other places in town. One is McCoy Outdoor here if you're in Mobile. Go there and buy your ammunition. But don't go into when you go into Walmart, you're helping the enemy. They are allied with Michael Bloomberg.
Well, the thing about McCoy is those guys and gals are extremely knowledgeable about their product. Whether you're buying ammunition, you're buying
they
gear,
know the difference
you're
between
buying holsters.
22 long rifle and a 22
Absolutely.
short.
And if you're looking for that concealed carry pistol for yourself or for the missus, then definitely McCoy Outdoors is a place to go. Those guys and gals, like I said, are extremely knowledgeable about the merchandise they carry and the sporting goods clothing that they have. So if you're looking for that outdoor clothing and gear,
primitive archery, crossbows, all of that stuff,
one-stop shop.
About.
One-stop shop.
Adam, I just wanted to share real quickly. My first time to go to McCoy's, I was a little uneasy because I really didn't know what I was doing, and I told the guy behind the counter that if he didn't mind, I had a stupid question, and he told me there is no such thing.
Right.
And there was no high-pressure sales at all. And you say, well, I'd like to see that particular
Not like
gun.
Circuit City used to be, where they followed you around.
And anyhow, that's right. I remember that
That's
day.
awful.
But anyhow, they take it out of the cabinet and let you handle it and get the feel of
And Charlie, let's say, for instance, you buy a gun, get it home, and you say, I'm not sure how to field strip this gun, break it down so I can clean it. You can go back to McCoy's. They know how to do it. They'll show you how to do it. There's no
and they don't mind
fee for it. Yeah, but everybody ought to know a basic field strip of their gun so they can clean it properly. And you can look it up on YouTube, or if you buy it from them, they'll show you how to do it.
And Judge, they also have a gunsmith on staff.
Absolutely.
You can take your firearm there, have it upgraded, or even just simple cleaned.
Yeah.
And refinishing.
A lot of people don't want to do what me and you do, and I take, instead of a day or two to do it a week, I take a month or two.
Yeah.
So, go down there and see them. They've got everything you need. Also, cleaning supplies. They've got a great selection.
And where are they?
And they are on Spring Hill Avenue. Used to call it Spring Hill Avenue Extension, but just west of the I-65 overpass down there where K&B used to be and Woolco and all that. They call it the Spring Hill Shopping Center. Also, there's a Waffle House there, so be careful when you go by that. But they're Monday through Saturday. And great people, and tell them if you go in there that we sent you in there that you heard about. Remember to subscribe on our YouTube channel. We need, I think, 22 more people to get to 1,000. Maybe it's
getting
24.
Close, aren't you?
Yeah, so if you hadn't done it, or you have an alternate email address you can do it with also, get on there and do it, because we just need to get to that 1,000. It unlocks a lot of other doors for us that aren't unlocked now.
Yeah, it gets us off the dark web.
Yeah, exactly. It'll probably get us banned because everybody will start noticing
probably
us
so.
When that happens. You can also follow us on Twitter. I've been posting a lot on Twitter just to shake people up. It's kind of intermittent, but I think we're Armed Alabama FM Talk 1065 on Twitter. Let's see, profile. Yeah, we're Armed Alabama FM 1065 on Twitter. And you can see Charlie and me and Adam and our profile picture right there. We'll see you all next week at 7 p.m. on Armed Alabama.